Alright, I have started recording and I'll provide this recording to you, okay?
Thank you.
Alright. So, as I was going to ask that what is the difference, how are you going to relate the genes, DNA and chromosomes?
Okay. So the DNA, it is the blueprint of all genetic information.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm correct, genes are basically sequences of DNA of our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And these genes, the sequences of DNA, these genes are at specific positions in our chromosomes.
Alright, now let's create a proper symmetry of all these concepts. First
Yeah.
of all, let me ask you another question. What is the DNA by nature? Like, is it an organelle? Is it a molecule? Or is it some type of cellular structure? What is DNA by nature?
It's a cellular structure composed of nucleotides,
Mm-hmm.
sugar group, nucleus base pairing, and protein.
All right. First of all, keep this thing in your mind that DNA is a molecule.
Molecule.
DNA is a molecule, and DNA is not just a molecule, it is one of the large molecules. If you go through the syllabus, you will come to know that we have a huge branch of biology, that is biological molecules or biomolecules, and in that branch we often study carbohydrates, we study fats or lipids, we study proteins, as well as we study the DNA, or you can say nucleic acid.
Nucleic acid.
Nucleic acid. So this is the category in which the DNA falls. DNA is a biological molecule, and it by nature it is a nucleic acid. And yes, you also said that DNA is made up of nucleotides. Actually, the work of the nucleotide, all or the role of the nucleotide in the DNA is that nucleotides are actually the monomers of the DNA. Now, what is a monomer?
A monomer. It's a single unit of a. It could be a compound or yeah,
Yeah, it can. All these single units can combine, and they can
polymers.
create a polymer, and certainly it means that a DNA is a polymer. Alright, it's the molecule. We have established a point that DNA is a molecule and it is a polymer. So now let me ask you another question, that how many DNA do we possess? How many DNA molecules do we possess?
Yeah, we have around like millions of strands of copies of
Okay,
different.
let me change the question. How many DNA molecules in a single nucleus do we possess? In a single nucleus.
I'm not sure how many the number exactly now.
You know that the total molecules of DNA that we possess in one nucleus is 46.
Uh, 46 chromosomes. Yeah.
Yeah, so it means that actually, what is a chromosome? Whenever you talk about the DNA may, let me draw it roughly first. The DNA may look like this first, but when you double the DNA, first of all, you double the DNA, and when you double it, then you fold it. Once you fold the DNA, it suddenly becomes a chromosome, and that is why we say that we have 46 chromosomes in our nucleus or in our cells. Why? Because the number of chromosomes is always equal to the number of DNA molecules.
Okay.
This is one of the most basic thing. Now it means that if we have 46 DNA in one nucleus, it certainly means that if we compare it from some other organisms, like let's refer to the book. Let's see over here. If we look at this table, you can easily see that we may have different number of chromosomes in, like, let's say Drosophila. Drosophila has only 8 DNA. I'm not referring to this column. Please don't look at this one right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Just let's have the discussion about the DNA right now, because this is a discussion of genes. So the total number of DNA molecules present in the Drosophila, which is in common words called as fruit fly, there are total 8 DNA. In this Chaetorhabditis elegans, this may be containing, I think, up to 30 or 40 DNA. Homo sapiens contain 46 DNA. Daphnia pulex, it may I think it possesses 50 or 60 maybe DNA molecules. Now what is this? Actually, the number of DNA, let me write down this sentence. The number of DNA molecules in a nucleus, number of DNA molecules in a nucleus is a characteristic of an organism. Is a characteristic of an organism. What does it mean? It means that we actually have a unique number of DNA molecules. If we have 46, then we should obviously be thinking that if we have 46 molecules, it means it is a human. If an organism has 48 molecules of DNA, it may be a chimpanzee, because chimpanzee possesses 48 molecules. If it possesses 40 molecules of DNA, it may be a dog. So these
Yes.
are some of the characteristic things to define an organism. We should be focusing on the number of DNA molecules. All right. Now, okay, we have 46 DNA molecules, but how did we get these 46 molecules? How did we get these?
Firstly through the process of meiosis, and also we have a haploid number 23 from one parent side and 23 from the other side as well.
So,
From them.
can I say that we got it after fertilization? We got these 46 DNA molecules after fertilization. What does it mean? That 23 was contributed from our father and 23 DNA molecules were contributed from our mother, and when the fertilization, which means the fusion of gametes or the fusion of nuclei occurred, then we got 46 molecules, and the first cell of our life was the
Zero.
zygote. So it means that we don't have we don't actually have 46 DNA molecules. You know how do I write these 46 DNA? I always write it in this fashion. 46 means 23 plus 23. Like I got 23 from mother and 23 from father. And if a cell, you see, if a cell is containing both of these sets, one from the mother and one from the father, if a cell contains both of these sets, this cell is known as
Diploid.
diploid cell. It can be called as diploid or diploid cell. Diploid means that we have two sets
M.
of chromosomes.
Yeah.
We have two sets of chromosomes and 2n. N actually refers to haploid number. So if we say that 2 into 23, then obviously it would become 46. Alright, great. So let's see that if we have a diploid cell, then we also say that we have 46 DNA or we have 23 pairs. We have 23 pairs of DNA molecules. I'm only working on the basics right now, okay? I'm not
Yeah.
moving in towards advanced concept. So we have 23 pairs of DNA molecules. Alright, so do you know that on what basis do we create the pairs? Like, okay, let me ask you a very random question. It is a very common question. If you possess a pair of a thing, suppose you got a pair of shoes, on what basis you are saying that they are a pair? Why they are?
That the
Yeah, please.
same size, same color.
Well done, great. The to call two things a pair, we must be understanding that a pair would only have the things that are present in the pairs, they don't have any difference with each other. They might have a slight difference between each other, but a pair, the things in the pair are considered to be same to same. They are
Homologous.
considered to be 99% same. Well, then you have named the thing. Actually, what happens that when we create the pairs, because remember, the nature did not create these pairs. The nature did not name these pairs. The nature did not know that okay, these are pairs, and evolution, like evolution caused them to set with each other, but evolution did not name them. We named them. Scientists named them. So when the scientists named them, we must be knowing that on what basis scientists named them. Remember, they named them on the basis of their structure, basis of their size, and on the base of their genetic arrangement. Now it is easy to understand about the structure and size. Like obviously if they look same, then obviously they are a pair. But what about this genetic arrangement? Now focus. As I said a few minutes ago that we get one set from mother and one set from father. Now it means that I got 23 from here and 23 from here. So the chromosome number 1 from my mother, I also got chromosome number 2 from my mother, number 3, number 4, number 5. And I also got all these chromosomes from my father. And I would put chromosome number 1 always with the chromosome number 1 of my mother. Let me repeat my sentence. I would consider chromosome number 1 from my father with the chromosome number 1 from my mother, because they are actually fulfilling these requirements. They are exactly same in their structure, in their size, and in their genetic arrangement. So
Yeah.
it means they are a pair. It means they are a pair. And what do we name them? We name them homologous,
Chromosomes. Yeah.
homologous chromosomes, homologous pairs and homologous chromosomes. All right. So
When
if
you mean with the genetic arrangement, do you mean that they like have the same specific trait in the sense that they both, or
no, I mean something else. Now I am about to write that. Suppose this is chromosome number 1 from mother, and chromosome number 1 from my father. Okay, now this is the arrangement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 genes here and 4 genes here. Suppose this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D, this is maybe Z, Y, X, W. Now, what does it mean? If these are homologs, remember that the other homolog would have the same gene at the same position. You have already told me that the location of a gene is called as a locus.
yeah?
So remember that the locus of the genes on homologs would be same to same. What does it mean? This A would have the same position as this A. This B would have the same position as this B, and this C would have the same position as this C. It means that homologous chromosomes not only have the same structure and same size, these chromosomes also have the same genetic arrangement. All
Okay.
all the genes would be arranged in the same pattern. You want to ask something?
No, no.
Okay. So it means that on the lower arm of this same homolog, we would have W, X, Y, and Z. We cannot have any other gene over here because it is a homolog. This is the rule of a homolog. Okay,
Okay.
now if suppose A is at the same position with this gene A, what would we call them if this A has the same position with this A? Would we call them homologous genes?
Could you say base pairing or no?
No,
That would
base
no.
pair is within a gene. Let me repeat my question. The question is, like, the two genes, they are same genes, same working genes, their position is same on the homologous chromosomes. So if we are referring this pair as homologous pair, do we need to call their genes as homologous genes?
Could we say identical or no?
We would call them alleles.
Alleles.
Let me give you the definition of an allele. An allele is a partner of a gene present at same locus on homologous chromosome. This is a partner of a gene or part of a gene, or you can say another word can be used, alternate form.
Okay.
The condition of a gene, the question can be asked that when we call two genes as alleles of each other, remember we can only call two genes as alleles when they are on homologs. It means they are present on the pair, and number two, their locus must be same. Their locus must be same. What does it mean? The A can never be an allele to B. No, 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 no. Because the locus has changed. The A can never be an allele to C. The C can never be an allele to D because the locus has changed. So the allele, to call a gene as an allele, you must know that it is present on a homologous chromosome, and number two, it is present on the same locus.
Okay.
So that is when we call them as. Alright, so if I say that we have 23 pairs, let me write it again. We have 23 pairs and all these pairs are homologs. What does it mean? That every chromosome is like identical to its other part. One from mother's set would be identical to one from father's set. Second chromosome from mother's set would be identical to the second chromosome of father's set. Alright, now you can ask another question. Then how they are different? Like we often see in the siblings, we often observe in the siblings that even if a family has 3 or 4 children, you can easily tell that like if they don't have twins, you can easily tell that this is the elder boy, this is the younger boy. How they have clearer difference between them. They have clear. Now the thing is, if we have the same to same chromosomes from our father and from our mother, we have same chromosomes. Such chromosomes which have same structure, same arrangement of genes, same size. Then what is the difference that is causing the siblings to look different? What is the difference there?
The alleles?
How the allele? Okay, your answer is right. Your answer is right. But how?
Is it because maybe some alleles are more recessive than other alleles?
Okay, your answer is not wrong, but if I ask you what is the meaning of recessiveness?
That they're more common. That allele is more common throughout the genes. It's more
Okay,
dominant in that sense.
okay, if I ask you what is the dominant one? Now,
It
hmm yeah, please go ahead.
um I don't know how to explain. I know when you have like a pedigree chart, the capital, that's usually the more dominant allele and the more recessive.
You are on the right track, but there are things that needed to be explained. Now let me tell you.
Yeah.
So this answer was 100% correct that the alleles are different, but how the alleles are different? Let me tell you. Remember that when we talk about the allele, then I just wrote that allele is an alternate of a gene. An alternate of a gene. What is the meaning of this?
It's
Always.
there.
Mhm, mhm.
It's like a variant in a way.
Yeah,
You
it
could
is.
say.
It is a variant. Okay.
Yeah.
Now always remember, if we have suppose if I have a character A, if I have a character A, I always would have two alleles for that character. I would get one allele on one homolog and other allele on other homolog, which means I get one allele from my one parent because this homolog I got from my father and this homolog I got from my mother. So always remember that if one set we get from our father and the other set we get from our mother, always remember that it means that one allele we get from our father and the other allele we get from our mother. You should be remembering this. This is the
Yeah.
key point to understand the pattern of genetics. Now, if I say that I have a character A, I have a character A, and for that character A, I was provided with two alleles A and A. So it means they are same, there is no difference. But sometime what happens that I get these homologs from my parents and one parent provides me a dominant allele but the other parent provides me an allele that is not working. And sometime it happens that I get one homolog from my one parent and the other homolog from the other parent, but both of them provide me such alleles which are not working. Now what does it mean? It means that the one of the allele can may or may not work. Sorry, let's remove this. May or may not work. May or may not work. So it means that the allele or gene can malfunction. Malfunction. Okay. Now
Would
what?
we
Mhm.
consider this mutation, or this would not be?
Yeah, you are right. You are right. This is a mutation. Why? Because if gene can malfunction, it means there is some change in gene, and when there is a change in gene,
Change in DNA as well, right?
and we call it mutation.
Mutation.
Mutation. So it means that it does have some time that we get a dominant allele, yeah, a working. I am trying not to use the dominant and recessive terminology right now. I'm trying to
Yeah.
use working and non-working allele. So it
Yeah.
does. Yeah, please, please.
No, no, no. I was just, yeah.
Okay. So let me tell you. Sometime it happens that when an allele is working, we sometimes call it as dominant. Sometime. Actually, almost 99% of the time, when an allele is working, we call that allele as dominant one. and when an allele is not working, we use the word recessive for it. Recessive for it. All right. We have we have got the idea that why we are different. First of all, the cause of the variation within the siblings is the meiosis that you referred to a few minutes ago. You said that crossing over occurs in meiosis, and the DNA is exchanged. So we are different from our siblings because in our parents, when the sperms and eggs are formed, the meiosis occurs, and meiosis creates the changes. Second cause of variation is the fertilization, and the third cause is sometimes the alleles are working and sometimes the alleles are not working. So these are three different. I'll repeat all these three things every time we need to repeat it, but right
Yeah.
now I was just describing it, that why we have variations compared to our siblings. All right. Now uh, I am constantly saying a word, working gene. What is the work of a gene? How a gene works?
It would, for example, work. We would code for like hair color. It would code for
Hmm.
facial features.
Okay, so I can say codes for characters.
Yeah, characteristics of an individual. Yeah.
Okay. How? The question is again, how? How it codes? If my eye is black, what is like happening in my gene that is making my eye black? How a
Isn't it?
gene is, yeah, please, please.
Isn't it the allele? The allele on the gene decides that the color of your eye will be black in that case.
Now, first thing, there is no allele on the gene.
No allele on the gene. Okay.
No allele on the gene. Remember, there is no gene of an allele. This is also a wrong statement. This is also wrong. The right statement is the allele of a gene. What is the meaning of allele of a gene? Allele of a gene means if a gene is A, then its allele may be small a, or its allele can be a capital A. The gene would always be referred to as a single thing. Its alternate form would be called as alleles. So always remember, there is no gene of an allele. There would be allele of a gene. Gene would always be single term. For a single character, for a single character A, gene would always be a single. Its alternate forms would be called as an alleles. So allele on the gene, it is the wrong statement. Gene of an allele, it is also a wrong statement. Alleles of a gene is the right statement,
Okay.
because it is the gene, let me write it down, it is the gene that alternates. Gene that alternates. The the alternations, or let's say alterations in gene cause the formation of alleles. Alteration in gene causes the formation of alleles. What does it mean? Allele itself is nothing until a gene changes itself. Let me repeat my sentence. Allele itself is nothing until a gene is mutated.
Okay.
Now, I was asking you, I'll describe this thing. Let me write down a statement over here. You can search this statement on your by yourself on Google after the lesson, but if you don't, I can describe it to you later. Now, I was asking you that how a gene codes for a character. Now remember, if I ask you another question, What does a gene do in my body? Like obviously it is a very important part of my body, but what is it doing there?
It's responsible for your physical characteristics and your behavioral characteristics.
Genes create proteins, or you can say, don't write it right now, let me change the word. Genes code for proteins. Actually it is the proteins that decide our characters. You can say that gene is a blueprint upon which the protein is made, and the protein is basically my character. Let me describe it to you. You may have seen some of the architectural design of a building. Before we construct a building, the architect engineers, they create a design, they create a blueprint, or they create a map of a house or a building. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
So what is that? That particular thing is actually a blueprint on the information. Based upon that blueprint, the construction would be done based upon that blueprint. So what does it mean? My body is actually built up based on the information present on the gene. So genes are actually, they are coding for the proteins. There is no protein, remember my words, there is no protein in currently in my body that is defined without a gene. No, there is not, it is not possible that there is a gene, there is a protein that is like that has been made in my body, but there is no gene present there. No, it is not possible. If there is a protein present in my body, but for that protein I don't have a gene, it may be a virus.
Okay.
Let me repeat my sentence. If there is a protein in my body and that protein is not based upon any of my own gene, that protein may be a virus. There is this much important the genes are. If the gene is in your body and it is working, it means you would have the protein. Suppose, let me tell you, I have a gene called HBB, hemoglobin. Now hemoglobin is actually made of 4 protein chains. Now you would require 4 genes to create 4 protein chains, and those 4 protein chains would then combine to each other to create a hemoglobin. Remember, there is no protein in my body without a gene, so the genes create the proteins. Now what is the meaning of non-working gene? The non-working gene means it is not creating a protein. Have you ever heard about not creating a protein maybe? Or it can be translated into another thing, like it can also mean that a non-working gene is creating a faulty protein.
Oh.
A protein there is in my body, but it is of no use to me. It is of no use to me. Sometimes the protein is not made. Have you ever heard about the thalassemia?
No.
Thalassemia is a disease in which the hemoglobin is not made. There is no hemoglobin in your blood. It happens when the gene is not working. But you must have heard about the sickle cell anemia.
Yeah.
The sickle cell anemia is a disease in which the protein is made, but it is faulty.
Yeah.
So,
The red blood cells
yes,
shape is changed.
shape is changed, and there is only a difference of one amino acid. So, the thing is, like non-working gene means either it is not creating a protein or it is creating a faulty protein. So, this is like the genes, how the genes work. All right, now Back to the basic concept of the genes, I was about to describe that if we get like if we have a character X, if I have a character X and maybe I get dominant or working allele as X and the recessive allele for this same character is small x. Now you can easily determine the pattern of gene movement from parents to offspring. Suppose uh, the parent, every parent would have two alleles for character X. Suppose one parent has this two dominant X and one parent has two recessive X. You may have heard about the genotypic terminology, the homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive.
Yeah.
So, what would be the genotype of this parent if both are dominant? It would be homozygous dominant,
Yeah.
and this would be homozygous recessive.
Homozygous recessive.
Now, you can identify that I am going to get only one of the alleles from father and only one of the alleles from mother. It can be anyone. It can either be this one or this one. Remember, I am talking about only one character. So it means that suppose I get one from my father and one from my mother. And this, what is this genotype?
I don't know what it's called.
One dominant and one recessive, so it would be heterozygous.
Heterozygous.
Okay, we can clear this concept of genotypes and phenotypes, no problem. Okay, suppose that this is a person and this person marries to a girl who is also heterozygous, meaning possessing one dominant allele and one recessive allele. Okay, now remember the next child can only have one allele from father and one allele from mother. Okay, so now you can guess. How you can guess? Suppose this is one allele from father and one the other allele from father. You would create a box over here,
Yeah.
and this is dominant allele, recessive allele, dominant allele, recessive allele. Now, if a child get one dominant, this is father's side and this is mother's side. Remember, I am constantly saying that a child can only have one allele from either of the parents. So,
Yeah.
suppose if a child is having both the dominant allele, so that person would be called as like this person would be showing X. X would mean that it is showing this character 100%, 100% of it. Suppose if a child get capital X from father but small x from mother, what does it mean? It means that
50%.
this child is showing 50% of this character. And similarly, this would have similar one because this is smaller but this is also capital. So this one would have the same condition. Lastly, if a child is having both receiving the alleles but both of the alleles that are contributed by the parents are recessive, it means this child would not be showing, you can say, showing 0% of this character, and it can be a disease. I'm not saying that it is 100% times it's a disease, but it can be a disease.
Okay.
You see, like the genes have a very particular phenomena of movement from parents to offspring, and they work in a very strange way. They work in a very strange way, and if they are mutated along the way, like they are getting transferred from the parents to the offspring, and if they get mutated, obviously the complications appear. The complications appear. Okay, now let me ask you one more thing. Like we have been talking about the gene constantly. So what is a gene? Like we have talked about the chromosome and DNA, right? Did you get the idea about chromosome and DNA?
Yeah.
Like if we say that DNA is a molecule and chromosome is a folded form of a DNA. It is like when the DNA folds, the chromosomes is formed. So, but what is a gene? What is a gene?
It would just be, we say, like a part of the chromosome in a way, right?
It can also be said that it is a small segment of
DNA,
DNA.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like if you ask me, this is a chromosome, right? If I try to magnify the chromosome, I would get the DNA. I would get the DNA. And if I try to magnify the particular portion of DNA, I would get a small gene. So I can say that a gene is a small portion of DNA. A gene is a small portion of DNA that creates its own unique protein. This is a gene. And once the gene is like the gene has been identified, we can say that genes have their own proteins, but we would study that in different sections, because when the gene would create a protein, it is a very lengthy process. You may have heard about the transcription and translation. So
Yeah.
from gene to protein, that is a very lengthy process. This was like okay, let's see this topic from what is written in this document. A gene is a heritable factor. These are the things that you are supposed to know. You are supposed to be judged on the basis of these points that are written over here. So that is why I am constantly emphasizing on this document. So
Okay. Yeah.
a gene is a heritable factor. A gene occupies a specific position on a chromosome or DNA. The various specific form of genes are alleles. Alleles differ from each other by only one or only few bases. Now, I did not discuss bases over here, but
Yeah.
we can discuss it later if we meet again. New alleles are formed by mutation. That I told it to you, that if a gene is mutated, only then the alleles are formed. The genome is the whole genetic information of an organism. The entire base sequence was sequenced. That is something else. Now, the important thing about the IB. Now, remember that the most important thing about the IB is present here. What are you supposed to have? You see, in IB, there is importance of like concepts. You are supposed to link the things. Yeah, you are supposed to link the things, but in IB, the most important thing is that you should have these things: application and skills. How are you going to be judged on the basis of your knowledge? How are you going to apply your knowledge? Like, let me read this sentence for you. The causes of sickle cell anemia, including a base substitution mutation, a change to the base sequence of messenger RNA transcribed from it, and a change to the sequence of polypeptide in hemoglobin. Now, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to know, number one, what is the change in the base sequence? How one base or one genetic code is changed into another? What change occurs there? Instead of glutamic acid, what amino acid?
Valine.
Yeah, the valine would be adjusted over there. What would be the effect of valine? It is hydrophobic, so it would,
Insoluble fibrous strands, right?
well done, it is insoluble. It would become sickle shaped. It would
Yeah.
become sickle shaped, and all the hemoglobin would be agglutinated. It would be clustered. So the
Oxygen can be uptake.
oxygen carrying capacity would not be would be, or you can say would be decreased. it would not be up to the mark. So the main portion about the IB is present application and skills, and then there is a link between the sickle cell anemia and prevalence of malaria. Now this is one thing that these are totally, apparently malaria is a disease and sickle cell anemia is also a disease, but malaria is caused by a totally different reason compared to the sickle cell anemia. But then how can they be related? That is the thing, that is the theme of IB. You are supposed to apply your knowledge according to the latest information and latest technologies. So I suppose that if we meet again, you'll get all of these things from me.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. I guess it's one complete hour.
Yeah.
Anything
Uh,
further?
you leave, yeah. Do you have a few minutes?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Uh, when I'm communicating on this WhatsApp, is it you or is it someone else I'm talking to?
Yeah, it was someone else. It's like you can say it was the one who was working as a HR of this whole setup.
Okay. Uh, is it possible to talk to you? I have to go for a meeting or he has to go for his sports. Is it possible to communicate to you in somehow for 5-10 minutes to discuss the progress and to discuss the further steps?
Mm-hmm. Like if like you can ask me a question, if I am if I able to answer, I can, no problem.
No, I really like the way you taught, and I will take his feedback, of course. But I think he would also be very happy. I just need to make plans. How many hours? How many times?
Mm-hmm.
What's the cost? All these things. So I think we need to discuss it for 5-10 minutes to make a plan for the November to
Yeah.
cover everything. So I don't know how to communicate or how to connect to you.
Okay, I can tell you, I am working as a teacher, but I am in that team that is like in management team. I am also there, so we can talk here right now, or if you are in a hurry, we can talk on WhatsApp. I can refer you to that person. There is no difference between me communicating to you and him communicating to you.
I think it's easier because if you talk, if I want to talk to you. I mean, of course, there's a slight difference
Hmm.
because you have spent some time with him. You understand, the problems we have spoken.
Sure.
Uh, how many hours do you think we need until November to cover everything and to make sure that he gets a reasonably good grade?
Okay, it's like July.
Difficult question. I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
but we have about 3.5 months. I would say.
Yes, 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 yes. And mostly what happens that we often teach the student three hours a week, or you can say that 3 days a week, and sometimes it happens that 1.5 hours a day. It can be adjusted like that. So I think 1.5 hours a day would be a suitable time. It would be a suitable time because if we arrange 3 classes per week, 1.5 hours a day, it would give us enough time to explain the concepts as well as doing some practice of the questions, the past papers, applying the concepts on the past papers. So it would give us enough time.
Yeah. And I think I saw some demonstration that you of course you are involved in IB, right? You understand, you have the past papers, you understand the IB
Yes,
system. Yeah, yeah. And
yes,
you're
yes.
based
Hmm.
you're based in England or are you based in
No, I myself based in Pakistan,
you're in Pakistan? Okay, yeah, yeah. Which part of Pakistan? You're from Pakistan also.
Lahore.
Lahore. Okay, yeah. Good. That's something. तो हम उर्दू में बात कर सकते हैं हमें अंग्रेजी
No,
बोलनी
sir,
जरा
no problem.
अच्छा तो
अच्छा, आप कब गए यहाँ से स्वीडन?
मुझे तो 15-20 था तकरीबन कोई पैदा हुआ था ऑलमोस्ट तो 16-17 years
ओह, अच्छा अच्छा।
जी तो आप कहाँ पे होते हैं लाहौर में कहाँ काम करते हैं नॉर्मली
सर मैं ना इस वक्त लाहौर का एक बड़ा आपने शायद सुना हो, वेल नोन इदारा है वहाँ पे मेरा है अपना एलजीएस में ना। मेरा उनके साथ है आईबी का भी, उन्होंने आईबी शुरू किया है लास्ट ईयर।
जी
उससे
जी
पहले बीकन हाउस में आईबी आईबी है, उनका पढ़ाता रहा हूँ। और
अच्छा
अभी फ़िलहाल जो है मेरा ये था कि क्योंकि अभी तो आजकल छुट्टियां हैं, تو آپ کو پتہ ہے کہ ارننگ کے لیے ہر بندہ لگا ہوا ہوتا ہے، تو مجھے یہ تھا کہ میں ان کے ساتھ اب وزٹنگ پہ کام کر رہا ہوں ایل جی ایس میں نا. تو
جی
اس کے ساتھ اب دیکھوں گا اور کوئی آئی بی میں. ٹو بی آنیسٹ آئی بی کا یہ ہے کہ مزیدار سسٹم ہے سر، کیمبرج سے زیادہ اچھا آئی بی کا سسٹم ہے.
مشکل بھی ہے کیمرے سے نا،
جی
کیمرے آسان
مشکل
ہے
ہے،
تھنک.
مشکل ہے.
جی تو اس میں کیا کر سکتے ہیں ہم؟ آپ کہہ رہے ہیں تقریباً 4.5 گھنٹے، آلموسٹ اے ویک.
جی جی تقریباً اس کے بنیں گے 4.5، ہاں جی 4.5 گھنٹے بالکل.
اور سر آپ کے کیا یہ جو ہے آپ کے چارجز کیا ہیں پولائٹلی آسک میں؟
سر چارجز میں
We're talking about long term here, no? We're talking about all the way till November. So we want to stick with a teacher. I think you were really good. جو مجھے سمجھ میں آ گئی ہے، میں نے انجینئرنگ کی ہوئی ہے، مجھے بایولوجی کو کچھ پتہ نہیں ہے. لیکن I at least got to understand what genes are, what DNA is, all these things. Very interesting. So I think he will also appreciate کہ آپ نے اس کو پڑھایا. So we need to get a solution for the long term, for 4 months at least, 3.5, 4 months.
تو سر مجھے اصل میں کافی زیادہ ہیزیٹیشن ہوتی ہے سر،
تو
خاص
مجھے
طور
بھی بہت ہوتی ہے. I'm a person جس کو پیسوں کی بات کرنے میں بہت تکلیف ہوتی ہے، لیکن unfortunately we have to do it, right?
سر اس میں یہ ہوتا ہے کہ آئی بی ایچ ایل ہے کیونکہ یہ، تو اس میں یہ ہے کہ اپنا یہ آپ کی کیا ہے، اس کو کرونا کہتے ہیں نا آپ کی کرنسی جو ہے
جی
سویڈن میں. اس میں جو ہم چارج کرتے ہیں وہ آلموسٹ 200 پر آور ہے.
اچھا
200 پر آور ہے. تو اس حساب سے جتنے آورز بنتے ہیں منتھ میں، اس حساب ہمارا منتھلی دو طرح سے ہوتا ہے. اگر تو یہ ہونا 2 منتھس کی، یا عام طور پہ 3 منتھس میں بھی ہوتا ہے کہ اس طرح سے کر لیتے ہیں ہم یورپین یا ایون انڈین اسٹوڈنٹس کے ساتھ بھی، کہ ہم یہ کرتے ہیں کہ ہم پورے پروجیکٹ کی ایک ہی دفعہ لے لیتے ہیں فیس. لیکن میں پرسنلی یہ پریفر کرتا ہوں کہ منتھ بائی منتھ ہونی چاہیے. تو اس میں اب آپ مجھے بتائیے.
سر، اس میں اگر ہم بات کریں لیٹس سے ایوریج 30 days ہیں، رائٹ؟ 30 days and then we're talking about
سر یہ
number of weeks, which will be 4.3 weeks approximately. So 4.3 weeks میں each week we are saying 4.5 hours. تو تقریباً 19 گھنٹے بن رہے ہیں.
جی
اچھا so it's approximately 19 hours. You're saying 200 crowns an hour, and then we're talking about approximately 3.5 months, 3 months. So it's 13,300 Swedish crowns.
جی.
جی
اب اس میں نہیں، ایک منٹ رکیے گا، میں ذرا ایک منٹ رکیں. میں نے آپ کو بتایا ہے 200 پر آور. ٹھیک ہے 4.4 18 سر پر منتھ 18 آورس نہیں بن رہے؟ 19 آپ کہہ رہے ہیں؟
18 19 جی.
چلیں 19 انٹو 3 اگر ہم کرتے ہیں 57. آپ نے کیا فگر بتایا مجھے؟
سر آپ کی کیلکولیشن کے حساب سے بن رہا ہے 19 آورس، اور ہم بات کر رہے ہیں 200 کرونس پر آور جو آپ نے بتایا، اینڈ 3.5 منتھس، تقریباً 13,300 سویڈش کرونس.
اچھا ٹھیک ہے ٹھیک ہے. تو اب آپ اس میں آپ کیا کہتے ہیں؟
سر میں یہ کہتا ہوں کہ I'm very uncomfortable talking about this. تو اس کو میں اب میں نے ایک طرح سے کنورٹ کیا ہے
نہیں
اس
نہیں
کو.
سر نہیں، یہ کچھ غلط ہو رہا ہے. ٹھہر جائیں ٹھہر جائیں، اتنی فگر کا میں نے خود بھی نہیں سوچا تھا. ٹھہر جائیں. 4.5 آورز پر ویک، 4 ویک پر منتھ، 18 انٹو 3 منتھس 54 اور
54 آورس ہو گئے نا یہ ٹوٹل.
جی 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 54 آورس. اور یہ کتنے بنیں گے؟ 54 انٹو 200 یہ بنیں گے 10,800. کچھ کہیں پہ کوئی گلچ آ رہا ہے اس طرح کا.
جی اپروکسیمیٹلی جو ہے جب آپ تقریباً بات کر رہے ہیں لیٹس کنورٹ دس انٹو آلسو انٹو پاکستان روپیز. یہ تقریباً بن رہے ہیں آئی ڈونٹ نو پاکستانی روپے آج کل کیا ہے 22-23 روپے ہوگا. آئی ایم جسٹ پوٹنگ لیٹس سے 22-23 ہے. یہ تقریباً 2.5 لاکھ کے آس پاس مطلب ہے
جی بالکل ایسا ہی ہے.
اس کو which means 3.5.
جی
اچھا سر میں آئی ول بی آنیسٹ ہیئر. جو میری پاکستان میں مطلب ایک دو لوگوں سے بات ہوئی ہے, میں نے ان سے ابھی تک وی ہیو ناٹ بین ان کانٹیکٹ,
جی جی
بٹ میری بات مطلب آپ کو ہوئی ہے فار ایگزامپل ایل جی ایس آپ کہہ رہے ہیں نا,
جی جی
ایل جی ایس سے ہی بات ہوئی ہے.
اسکول والے تو کم چارج کرتے ہیں تھوڑا.
سر وہ کم کرتے ہیں, جی وہ کم کر رہے
اسکولز
ہیں
میں
ایل
بھی
جی ایس.
کیونکہ سیٹ اپ ہوتا ہے نا,
جی
جو پرسنل ٹیوشنز ہوتی ہیں وہ ذرا کیونکہ ہماری اس میں
جیسے یہ پرسنلی بات مطلب وی ٹاک اباؤٹ 1-to-1
اچھا
1-to-1 کی بات ہوئی ہے. اور ایک اور بھی ہیں, مجھے ان کا نام بھول گیا, میں ڈھونڈنے کی کوشش کر رہا ہوں. تو سر جو مجھے بتایا گیا تھا نا اپروکسیمیٹلی, آئی ڈونٹ نو کہ کتنا صحیح ہے کتنا غلط ہے, ٹیچر کی کوالٹی کیا ہے, ایوری تھنگ آف کورس اٹ چینجز. وہ بتایا گیا ہے کہ تقریباً سم تھنگ بٹوین 30 and 50 از پاکستانی روپیز پر سبجیکٹ چارج ہوتا ہے, جو مجھے بتایا گیا پاکستان کے حساب سے. اگر آپ نے 3 سبجیکٹ پڑھنے ہیں تو وہ ہوگا مطلب
اچھا
ہے کہ
آپ
وہ.
3 کا پوچھ رہے ہیں, میں 1 کا بتا رہا ہوں آپ کو.
جی سر مجھے بتایا, آپ کا بتا رہے ہیں,
میں نے
آپ اور بھی کچھ پڑھاتے ہیں.
میں نے جو ابھی بات کی ہے نا, میرا تو بایولوجی ہے نا, میرا تو
نہیں
بایولوجی.
ایگزیکٹلی نہیں,
جی
میں بات کر رہا ہوں 3 کا بتاؤ. 3 کہتے ہیں نا, اگر آپ 3 پڑھیں گے تو وہ اٹ کین بی 35-40 ہزار روپے فار ایگزامپل. اگر آپ 1 پڑھیں گے تو اٹ میں بی 50,000 روپیز پر منتھ سم تھنگ. انہوں نے جو بات کی تھی سر, تو جو
ویسے
آپ
حیرانے کی
کی
بات ہے, آئی وی جو ہے نا یہاں پہ, ویسے تو آئی وی ویسے آنیسٹلی یہاں پہ اچھا خاصا چارج ہو رہا ہے, لیکن کیونکہ مجھے یا تو آپ پھر تھوڑا سا ٹائم دے دیں, کیونکہ 3 میں نے آپ کو جو فگر بتایا ہے وہ صرف 1 سبجیکٹ کا بتایا ہے, اور یہ وہ ہے جو میں چارج کر چکا ہوں. لیکن کوئی ایسا مسئلہ نہیں سر, میں 3 سبجیکٹس کا ایک اچھا مناسب پیکج بنا کے آپ کو بتا دیتا ہوں.
سر 3 سبجیکٹ کون پڑھائے گا, کون کوشچن جو ہے.
میرے ساتھ اور ٹیچر ہیں سر, ان کے آپ ڈیمو لیں.
سر آپ مطلب وی آر ویری ہیپی ود یو. فزکس کیمسٹری کا کوئی پڑھا سکتا ہے؟
جی جی بالکل بالکل, اسی لیے میں کہہ رہا ہوں میرے پاس فزکس اور کیمسٹری کے ٹیچرز ہیں.
سر کون سے ٹیچر ہیں؟ ایک نے فزکس کیمسٹری باسل کو پڑھائی ہے, اس کو پسند آئی باسل کو, ان کا
اچھا
نام
اچھا
ناصر صاحب.
اچھا ٹھیک ہے, نہیں
جانتے ہیں آپ؟
میں پرسنلی نہیں جانتا ناصر صاحب.
اچھا وہ ناصر, آئی تھنک وہ بھی انہیں نے ریفر کیا تھا یا کسی اور نے ریفر کیا ہے.
ٹھیک
وہ
ہے,
شنگھائی میں پڑھا رہے ہیں آج کل.
اچھا ٹھیک ہے.
جی لیکن مطلب ہے کہ if you have a teacher who is good in or 2 teachers who are good in physics and chemistry,
وہ
we
دونوں
can.
پڑھا رہے ہیں, ناصر صاحب دونوں پڑھا رہے ہیں.
ناصر صاحب دونوں پڑھا رہے ہیں, لیکن مجھے بھی تھوڑا حیرانی ہوئی ہے کیونکہ فزکس کیمسٹری ایک گروپ میں نہیں آتے نارملی.
جی
بایو
بالکل,
کیمسٹری میں مان سکتا ہوں, فزکس میتھس میں مان سکتا ہوں, لیکن فزکس کیمسٹری جو ہے وہ تھوڑا سا
اور یہ بڑے مشکل ہیں سر, دونوں بہت
بڑے
مشکل
مشکل ڈفرینٹ گروپ ہے. لیکن میں بیٹھا ہوں اس کی کلاس میں, ان کے لیکچر میں, آئی تھنک اٹ واز اے گڈ لیکچر, تو ان کو کمانڈ ہے.
سر میرا جو خیال ہے, مجھے بیسکلی میں آپ سے یہ کہوں گا کہ مجھے یہ بالکل نہیں لالچ کہ آپ, اگر تو بچے کو پسند آ رہا ہے نا, ہی از کمفرٹیبل, تو آپ ان کی طرف جائیے. ٹھیک ہے, میں ایون سنگل سبجیکٹ کا بھی آپ کو تھوڑا سا اور بنا کر دے دیتا ہوں, دوسرا
سر اس کو
پیکج.
مناسب کرنا تھوڑا سا جو ہے, آئی ایم آلسو انٹرسٹڈ, اگر آپ کے پاس ٹیچر ہیں اچھے فزکس کیمسٹری کے, تو وی کین ہیو اے ٹرائی اف پاسبل
ٹھیک ہے ٹھیک
ٹمارو,
ہے
بیکاز ہم نے اس ویک میں ڈیسائڈ کرنا ہے کیونکہ ٹائم بہت کم ہے, نومبر کا ہے, لمٹ
ڈیفینیٹلی
ہے.
سر, ڈیفینیٹلی بہت کم
جی
ٹائم ہے.
تو اگر کوئی ہے تو بتائیں, ادر وائز وی ٹاک اباؤٹ بایولوجی اونلی ود یو.
ٹھیک ہے ٹھیک ہے.
اس میں تھوڑا آپ ہمارا خیال رکھیں, تھوڑا ہم آپ کا خیال رکھتے ہیں.
جی جی سر, جی بالکل ٹھیک ہے. میں آپ کو آنیسٹلی بتاؤں, اگر میں معذرت بھی چاہتا ہوں اگر آپ کو برا لگا ہو تو زیادہ فی کا, ایکچولی یہاں پر آئی بی بہت چارج ہو رہا ہے. آئی بی کو تو باقاعدہ ہم لوگ بڑا بڑا چارج کر رہے ہیں, تو اس لحاظ سے میں نے بتایا تھا. لیکن کیونکہ مجھے بڑی خوشی ہوئی, پاکستانی ہیں آپ, بڑا اچھا لگا, تو کچھ نہ کچھ کر لیتے ہیں سر, انشاءاللہ کوئی بات نہیں.
سر اس کو
تو
مناسب کیا, تو وی آئی تھنک وی ول آلسو گڈ پروموٹرز فار یو کہ
مجھے یہ میں آپ سے کہنے لگا تھا کہ یہ فیور جو ہے یہ میں آپ سے پھر ضرور لوں گا, یہ والی. تو
آف
تو
کورس میرے 2 بچے ہیں, تو بڑا ہے, چھوٹی بھی ہے, وہ بھی
جی
آئی بی میں جا رہی ہے,
جی
اینڈ آف کورس یہ تو نکل چکا ہے, آلموسٹ نکل رہا ہے, لیکن ورڈ آف ماؤتھ اور جو we'll do that.
جی جی بالکل ٹھیک ہے سر، کوئی مسئلہ نہیں ہے. میں انشاءاللہ آپ کو بیسکلی مجھے اب تھوڑا سا سوچنے کا موقع دے. جب میں اسکرین سے پیچھے ہوں گا نا تو باقی سب کچھ میں کر لیتا ہوں. آپ نے دیکھ لیا ہوگا میں ساری باتیں کر لیتا ہوں. پیسوں کی بات سر،
میتھ نہیں آتا مجھے پتا ہے، کوئی مسئلہ
سر
نہیں ہے.
دوسری بات یہ ہے کہ پیسوں کی بات نہیں ہوتی سر، سچی بات ہے. فیس ٹو
آپ
فیس میں میسج پہ بتا دیتا ہوں، مجھ سے فیس ٹو فیس نہیں ہوتی. تو اس لیے جو ہے نا میں انشاءاللہ پھر آپ کو کچھ سوچ کے پھر ان سے
سر
آگے
ٹیک
مشورہ
یور
کر
ٹائم
کے.
اینڈ وی ڈو اٹ سم تھنگ.
تھینک یو سر.
بہت بہت شکریہ سر،
تھینک
تھینک
یو
یو.
سو مچ. اللہ حافظ.
اللہ حافظ.